Happy Wednesday. Welcome to Second Lap. Your host, Gramps. Mileage update 38,665. Creeping up on 39,000 miles on my feet. I can feel it in my hammies right now. It's a beautiful day in Dallas. I think it's 90, approaching 99 degrees. I'm out. I do actually have an umbrella with me, so you may see me flip the umbrella out if I start to melt as I'm talking to our guest today. He's been on before. I don't even know if he needs an introduction. He's wanted in a few states, I believe, but he's got some sort of a detector to keep out of those states. Bring on the guest, please.
Hey, everybody.
Welcome,
Good to be
Patric.
here.
Yeah, happy Wednesday. Thanks for showing up. Are you wanted in? Is it the county? I mean, where are you actually wanted by the law?
I'm not sure if I'm wanted. There may be a couple places where I have some unpaid tickets. I have a really good friend that's a police officer that said, if you get certain types of tickets in certain areas, just throw them in the garbage and don't worry about it. So I don't know if that was good advice or not. So I may be wanted in certain counties, and I'm unaware of it.
All right, ignorance is no excuse for the law, but at the same time, I'm going to give you a pass on this one. And I'm not sure that taking a citation from a law enforcement human and crumpling it up and throwing it in the trash is ever good advice for anybody. So I'm not going to sponsor that as part of the Second Lap show.
I would agree. I don't know. I was given that advice by a police officer, though. So
okay, I mean, you gotta do with what you got to do with.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're back. We've talked many different things together. We've talked, adult friendships, and I think we'll probably touch on that a little bit. What I wanted to start with, and I think not to kick you in the jugular right out of the thing, 2.5, 3 weeks ago, you reached out and you're like, I got a bad test score, and I'm not really sure what it means. And you seemed like you kept it together really good. And
Are
then
you talking about my medical exam or what? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
You said test score, so I wasn't sure,
Sorry. I'm not dancing around it, and at the same time, I'm not speaking it into existence. You got a bad test, or at least you got a results that they said, hey, this didn't look good. And it seemed to me that you didn't lose your shit, and I could have just been sheltered from that. So I'm not saying you didn't, but it seemed to me like you kept it together, and I was proud of you. And I didn't know if it's happened enough that you were just, hey, I'm going with the punches, or if your faith. I mean, what do you attribute the calmness to?
I mean, first and foremost, I would say my faith. I mean, I do have a strong faith. I believe I'm a Christian, believe in Jesus Christ, and that definitely gives me some comfort in times like that. I also would be lying if I told you that, given that, there's still not stress that comes with a bad test result or things like that. Right. I have 2 children. One's in college and one is about to start college in the fall. I prefer, it'd be my preference to be around for a long time and hopefully see grandkids at some point and things like that. So certainly don't want a bad test result, but I think they're, deep down, that, the comfort would come just from my relationship with God. But again, to say that there's no stress, I would say maybe I masked it pretty well, but, I just, I felt this time like that there was a weird result, and, but I felt like ultimately it was going to be okay.
Right.
And it turned out to be. They turned out to do a second scan, and what they were worried about turned out to be an anomaly, and it was actually nothing. But in between, I had to wait about a week of not knowing if there was actually something going on or not. So, definitely scary. I've had cancer twice, as you know. So been down that road and went through those things. And, every test is a little bit, even if you're going into it and you're feeling great and you're thinking the test is going to be good, every test is a little bit nerve wracking and you're like waiting for the results and
right.
really happy when the results come back good and, and a little bit concerned when the results seem to come back not so good. So I think that's the life of any cancer survivor. I think if you talk to a lot of them, they would say, ongoing tests are a source of stress,
Right. And is this anomaly that you experience, is this something you'll have to deal with again, or is this now something that like they've got to blot it on the thing and they know not to worry about it next time?
So not to go into deep detail, but I get PET scans every 6 months.
Okay.
I have one scheduled for 3 months from the last test just to kind of ensure. But what a PET scan does is that essentially they inject a radioactive sugar into your body.
Okay.
And cancer loves to feed on sugar. So after waiting an hour after the injection, they do a PET scan, and hot spots where it looks like a lot of the sugar is being absorbed are the potential of cancer.
Okay.
Like it's a potential indicator of that. Well, I had a hot spot that just happened to be the way I was laying on the table or whatever was in an area that typically this would accumulate, but it wasn't a sign of cancer. And the way that the scan was taken and the angle, they couldn't really tell if that's what it was or if it was something else. So I in turn had to have a much more intense exam of that specific area. And it turned out to be, oh yeah, it's nothing.
Okay.
But for a week, you're kind of like, you don't know,
Well, and
it was a spot in my small intestine that a lot of tests wouldn't indicate, like an endoscopy, a colonoscopy, if you can imagine, are kind of coming at the area from different ends. Right. But that spot in your small intestine, they never really get to that. So, it took a much more intense test looking specifically at my small intestine to rule out that there was anything going on there.
Okay, well that's good. Well,
I don't know that your audience is. We're probably losing your audience with all this detail.
Well, we could get more humorous. I could ask you. You know the difference between an oral thermometer and a rectal thermometer is, right?
No.
The taste.
I mean, I could imagine. I would imagine that there is a difference because I'd hate that they're using the same one for both. But
the taste.
Yeah.
That was the line. Yes, nice. It comes from one of my favorite. Yeah, thank you. I've been working on that one all day. It comes, if you've ever seen Idiocracy, if you haven't, it's worthwhile because it really does explain the world and the state we are in today. But Luke Wilson walks into this thing and there's a guy and he's got like 7 probes. One for the nostril, ear, mouth, butt, all the whatever. And he's like moving them around and they're all just kind of falling. And Luke Wilson is like, you do like know which one goes in the right place kind of thing. So, sorry.
No, I like it. It's funny, but again, it's thankful to be that the end result showed that there was nothing going on. And that makes it, well, I got diagnosed August of 2022. So we are approaching 4 years of since I got diagnosed with cancer. So, I'm
glad to hear that. I'm glad you're here.
Me too.
So I'm trying to think of the right way to say this. Your trajectory has been to eject child number 2 for college.
Yep.
And then no longer be a marketer. And I hear, and I don't think I'm giving away any secrets, that even Cammie is pulled back from her part. So are you guys disengaged and ready to start like traveling a bunch? Where are you at in that process?
Well, a couple different things. One, I'm glad you didn't use the R word, retirement, because
Nope.
I feel like I don't know that I will ever retire by the traditional definition of the word. I view retirement as moving from doing things that you have to do to doing things that you want to do. So also along with that is, as you know, I sold my marketing agency, and a lot of that was driven by the physical nature of my cancer. It causes a lot of fatigue and things like that. And to
Right.
properly run a marketing agency, as I'm sure our friend Ronnie can tell you, often is a 60+ hour a week endeavor.
Right.
And I just, to be frank, physically wasn't able to be on the ball at that extent. So I talked to two of the guys that worked for me that were a major part of the company and discussed with them the opportunity of buying me out of the agency, just because I knew I wasn't capable of continuing to run the company the way it needed to be run.
Right.
That being said, I'm not to the point where I'm like, okay, I'm not able to do anything. So what I am able to do, I'm continuing to try to remain engaged and do that. And that certainly includes Cammie and I traveling and things of that nature. But as I've tried to pull back, more and more things have landed in my plate, consulting gigs and
Right.
things like that. And so I'm certainly not working 60 hours a week because I'm not able to do that, but I don't find myself as being untethered as I would have thought that I would be.
Sure. Well, it's funny. I have another friend. I'll put him in our same age group. He's not by his own design. He was high tech like me, and he's going on 3 years ago. He was said, "Hey, we're not really sure we need your services," and he's tried a bunch of different things. He's looked at doing an insurance adjuster. He's looking at going up and helping with the crops, and I think it was North Dakota, some sort of, I can't remember what the vegetable or fruit is that they harvest. But he's looking at doing all that. His wife is still working. There is a purpose to this long story. His wife's still working. She's supposed to retire in, I think, less than 2 years now. And he's like, I don't know what she's going to do. And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, well, I've spent the last 3 years figuring out, like, from 10 to 2, I don't know what to do. And I'm finally starting to figure out that. And, the whole traditional retirement, like you said, I think we've all been, at least our eyes have been open to that 1955. The guy works, the wife doesn't, then they retire together and they live with a picket fence. I just don't think that's real for us. I think it's just changed.
I mean, I think it can be, but I just don't think that. I think you have to be true to how you're wired as a person. Like, I've always been very busy, very active, very type A, very driven.
Right.
And just because you maybe are in a financial position to where you can retire doesn't mean that just switches off. I mean, if I went to a beach with my wife and hung out for 7 to 10 days, by the 10th day, I'd be like, all right, what's next? What are we doing? Like, I need to be doing something, feeling productive. And that doesn't mean it has to be paid. I mean, I've become very involved with helping out at my church, which has been growing, and none of that, I'm involved in, several different things at my church and also a charitable organization that helps kids in Kenya. And those things require hours of my time, and I don't get paid a dime for any of it. And I'm fine with that. I'm not looking to get paid a dime. So it's not about continuing to work because you need the money. It's continuing to do things that you find value in and provide purpose to your life. But I just can't do nothing. I just can't, I mean, wouldn't matter what the number in my bank account said. I wouldn't be able to just stop doing things.
I see that. Purpose was one of the words that I had written on my hand. I hear you. I don't think I could ever have seen myself as like a shuffleboard golfer. I don't see that in my future like you. I thought I believed in the American dream of retirement and what they told us that meant. And then my father-in-law, who's 96 and just shutting down his business, like completely changed my opinion. I'm like, yeah, I guess you can do things. You don't have to follow this guideline or set of rules that they put
And
out
to
there.
be
You can,
fair, and to be fair, some people that might be what they like doing. Like everybody's got to decide for themselves what is the best fit for them. Some people that
right.
might be the goal. Hey, I've worked, 40 years and I'm ready to sit on my front porch with my wife and drink iced tea. And I don't, and there's nothing wrong with that either. I think everybody's got to be true to who they are as a person and what's going to, provide value to them. I do feel like purpose in life is a big part of whatever you want to call it. That I feel like when people lose purpose in life, it tends to then bleed over into their health and things like that. I think having a purpose in life in general, and that doesn't have to have anything to do with money, is important. I don't
Right.
think we're designed by God to just live a life of leisure and do nothing. I don't know that that's how as human beings we're wired.
Well, I don't think that there's ever been a time in history where that's been a reality. Like even in the surplus times, I think people still did things, as you said, it's in our nature. And some of the people that I think I see that have the most, I don't even know if purpose is the right word. The people that live off the land that, hunt and they, I just finished the Ted Turner biography, and it's probably not a good example because we're talking about it's not about money, but his book talks about him acquiring a bunch of land and then trying to do better for the land, and he grew a herd of buffalo to 55,000 from I want to say in the hundreds.
But that's purpose. Whether
Yeah,
you agree with the purpose or not, whether it's misguided or not, or whatever, he did have something that caused him to get out of bed in the morning and do something.
exactly, and I guess in a non-judgmental way, I don't know how you could be content with nothing to do. I don't know if that's the right way to say it. And it's not
I
me.
don't understand it either. I'm the wrong
Okay.
person to ask that question because I certainly don't. I don't see that. However, you know, I have I won't specify who, but I have somebody in my extended family that is retired and is totally physically capable of doing things and literally spends probably 80% of their time at home doing a whole lot of nothing. And I'm like, I don't get it. I don't understand it. But as long as they're happy and they're
Yeah.
able to do it, God bless. I mean, I'm not trying to tell somebody they have to be a certain way or not. All I can speak for is myself, and saying that, I hopefully will, come to the end of my life still being in some ways involved in things and trying, my mother is living in an assisted care facility now, not far from where I live. And she's become kind of the pseudo like activities director. She's 85 years old. And every time I call her on the phone, she's playing cards. She's doing this, she's doing that. And I'm like,
Okay.
my mom in her work life used to manage a large number of medical labs across the Midwest. So I think my mom would be miserable if she had nothing to do. Like, I think she has to be involved in something or trying to fix something or trying to plan something that's just who she
Right.
is as a person.
My dad is the same way. My mom gives him a hard time. He goes up to people. She says she takes him places. That's how she describes it. And he walks up and he'll just say, "Hey, how you doing?" And he'll start talking to somebody. And he like makes friends. And I'm like, Mommy was a salesman for like 40 and whatever it was years. And all of a sudden he's at home. And like we're talking about, he's lonely. He wants to talk to people. He wants to have that. And so my whole thing, I guess, in us bringing this all the way through is I think traditional retirement is Not real. I think, and I'm not judging you. Like you said, if you worked 40 years for the
I don't know
city
that
and all of a
I
sudden you
don't
want to
know
sit
that
at home and
I don't know that it's not real. I don't know that that's the way I would. It can be real. I mean, I right now I'm in a position to where if I wanted to sit back and do nothing, I could financially, but it's not who I am. But I'm saying it's real. There are people that have the ability to do it, you know.
I look at it and I guess all of the reasons that I'm saying this, I'm not saying out loud, but I look at all the stories of the person that retired and within a year is dead, or is no longer there. And I think it's back to the things we talked about. They don't have purpose. They don't have a reason to get out of bed, as you said. We need to solve problems. We need to do things to stay active. It's just what humans do. And I
And
don't know.
again,
I
I mean,
think just not
I think
doing any.
that I think that, my wife and I have recently been talking about this because the work that I do now, a lot of times it centers around different meetings I have to be involved in and things like that. But for a lot, it's fairly loose as far as the schedule. And we've talked recently about,
Okay.
there's times when the first thing I have on the docket is at 11:30 in the morning. So there's really no reason to wake up and get out of bed at 7 in the morning, let's say. But I talked to my wife just this week about it. I said, I feel like there's a benefit to being like, I got to be on a regimen. Go to bed at 10, get up at 7, just because if not, I start next thing you know, I'm in bed at 9. Then I'm in bed at 9. I'm like, I feel like there's a benefit to being like, I'm getting up at 7, even if I get up to spend a little time reading my Bible, doing other things. But my point is, like, I just spoke to my wife about this, about the benefit of being like continuing on a regimen as if I was going to work.
I think there is a huge benefit to staying on a regiment and having a set schedule. I did that. I started that during the whole, I call it Y2K, but during 2020, I'd get a haircut and I'd get a chiropractor adjustment every 4 weeks.
Yep. You're back. I lost you for a minute. Yep.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out whether or not I'm on the edge of the network.
That's okay. You came right back. So you were only gone for probably 15 seconds max. So, but I do think as far as staying on a regimen, I think there's a benefit to that. And I'm kind of finding that out because, like I said, I lost you again. Let's see if you come back up here.
I would say I'd hide my socks that I've got back here. But no, I agree with you with a routine. I think that's important for people is to kind of have that set. We'll see if he pops back on here.
Yeah, I think, to me, it's, especially with all three of us that are on the line. And Ronnie, I'm sure you could do some magic on editing maybe for post-production to get rid of some of these gaps. But I feel like the three of us that are on this call are also ex-military. And I feel like once you have that experience, I don't know that it ever completely leaves you.
No, I completely agree. I think when you get that drilled into you, you need to have some, like you guys have said, I think purpose is the key to a lot of things of just staying happy. I think that's a big thing for a lot of men in general. So there he is.
Yeah. So I do feel like we were just talking, Ronnie came on and I told he could do some of his post-production magic and make these gaps all go away. But we were saying, all three of us have been in the military. And I think once that type of scheduling and regiment is drilled into you, it's I think it stays with you for life. And I do think that, especially if somebody was a high performing person, type A person, whatever you want to call, I feel like, and somebody could argue, hey, this is a mental disability, whatever, but I do feel like some of your happiness is tied to productivity. Regardless of whether there's money involved or not, just feeling like you're doing something that's productive. Can you hear me, Rob, or are you gone?
I can hear you. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yeah, no, I can hear you now.
Try to get
Oh,
this is he needs to figure out where there's a loop where he can always be in good signal.
He does. It always changes though. I was more worried about my computer, so at least I've gotten in the habit of at least jumping on here. Here he is.
I don't know what's going on. It's actually the application has been crashing. Like it takes me all the way back out, and I have to go back in and re-log in, kind of thing. Are you able to hear me?
I can hear you fine.
Okay, I'm going to stand here and I can hear you. I can hear you.
Okay.
Back to you were saying, and I don't know if you ever got it completely out about the military and having, a schedule.
I just think, once you have that kind of a regimented thing drilled into you, it's hard to ever break yourself of that. And I also feel like people that have lived their whole lives, and again, this might be something a psychiatrist would say, well, that's not healthy, but you live your whole life with you like a report card on how you're doing based on productivity and what you're accomplishing. Right. And all of a sudden you go to not accomplishing anything. And I think that has an impact on your happiness. If you feel like there's days where I feel like, like if I don't have a lot of outside work, I still try to say, I want to get this done. I want to get this done. I want to get this done. So at the end of the day, I feel like I got those three things done, So again, that could just be me, but I don't think that's ever going to go away. I don't think I'm ever going to get to a point where I'm like, okay, I'm just happy doing nothing all day.
I think you're wired differently. I think a lot of people are that way, where they think they want to.
I don't know what's going on.
I don't know. This is going to be a bad episode. Every time we get to be starting to make a point,
it's a lot of cliffhangers. People haven't left. We appreciate everybody that's watching. We see you there. No one's kind of dropped off, so that's good. But no, I think what he was trying to go for, and I don't think it's anything that you specifically. I've noticed it now, at least running a business, is being addicted to the to-do list. Like I need to have those things to kind of check off.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that, and that's like you said, I mean, when you're running a business, that ends up looking like 60 plus hours a week without you even really trying too hard. And I'm not saying that's healthy. I'm not saying that's a great work-life balance. I'm just saying that, I personally have lived most of my life under that sort of, like getting after it every day. And whether it was when I owned my own business or when I was working in more of a corporate job, I all the way back to the Navy, when you're working, 12 on and 12 off, 7 days a week, so you're talking about 84 hours a week, like that you're working in the Navy. So I just feel like to me,
it was 84.
Yeah. I just feel like, for me, I got to feel like I'm accomplishing something. Even if it's something small, just something at the end of the day to feel like I got that done today.
I appreciate you being here, and I'm sorry that for some reason to finish this podcast.
Yeah, I'm not
I
sure
don't even
what's
know if you
going
can
on.
hear me. It's like
I can hear you.
I don't know what's going on. It's literally every other word you say to me is tinny.
It's telling me he needs to connect his mic. So I don't know if it's something with his earbuds. We've had that issue in the past.
Yeah.
So
I don't know if
but
we
like you
want to
said,
just come back to this another day, or what do we want?
We'll let him try to find a decent spot, and hopefully it'll work. Says he's there. Maybe I need to kick him. Bring him here. There we go.
Yeah, I mean it's a great topic. I don't know what's going on, Rob. Hopefully get back to but I was hearing you and then you just keep completely dropping, just randomly.
It's like the application just drops. It's weird. I'll be talking to you and then the application just closes. And
yeah, well,
I don't understand.
So anyway, I mean, we may need to wrap it up early and then revisit at some point in the near future. But
let's do that. I was going to say, I'm the guy that you described. I'm in bed at 9, but we're up at 5:15, and I like it because we get up and nobody else is awake. So we get to kind of have the world to ourselves for the first couple hours of the day. So I don't mind it.
Yeah, I'm much more. My natural inclination is much more to be up late. So 5:15 in the morning would mean I'm not even getting adequate sleep. Like going to bed at 9 o'clock would be going to bed at 10:30 is already hard for me to do that, let alone, an hour earlier, especially at this time of the year when it's still daylight out.
Yeah. And I was always that night owl. I mean, I was the same way. I would go to bed at 1 in the morning and sleep until 8 or 9. That's me. This was a shift I did with Annie probably about 10 years ago, where all of a sudden I started getting up a little bit earlier, and I'm up. Like this morning, we were up at 4:30, and we looked at each other and fell back asleep till 6:15, I think it was. But yes, the whole topic and the whole thing I was trying.
It's got to be. I have a good friend of mine that's very successful in real estate, and he gets up every morning at 3:30 and spends a half an hour in his hot tub, and then he does some reading. And then he does I'm like, there's just no way. There's just no way I could do that. Now, again, I think I would benefit from being okay, it's 10 o'clock. Let's start winding it down with the goal of being in bed, ready to go to sleep at 10:30 and set my alarm for 6:30 and maybe give myself grace to sleep till 7 if I felt like I needed it. I feel like I would benefit from a structure. It just couldn't be. There's no way I'm getting up at 5:15 in the morning. It's just not happening.
Yeah, and I'm not preaching that you do it. I don't think that you have to do it. I think what I would share with you is I've used my alarm to wake up less than 10 times in the last 4 years. We just get up when the we don't have shades over the window, so when the light comes outside and it's somewhere between 5 and 6, one of us kind of rolls out and the other one, is there with the dog, and we do pour over coffee so that, I go out and throw the kettle on, or she does. And we just have kind of a system. But waking up without an alarm, waking up without the violent shaking of the soul from a dream or wherever you are. Once you've changed that, it's just, I mean, it's an experience. Like you
No,
just,
I like I said, I just feel like I have to get myself onto a regimen, and I don't like, I try not to watch a lot of TV. Like I don't watch the news. I don't like, that's not really like my thing, but I do like watching stuff like YouTube TV and I like watching YouTube videos about topics that I'm interested in. And that could be a wide variety of things. And I find myself sometimes looking up at the clock and it's 1:30 in the morning and I've still been interested in this series of videos that I'm following after or whatever. So that's where I'm like, I've got to, if I don't think I really need an alarm clock to wake up. What I need to do is just get myself where it's like, hey, 10:30, it's lights out. Like I'm, starting to get moving in that direction at 10, and by 10:30, I'm sleeping because, that's where I fall short. Is I end up staying up really late sometimes. And then 8 o'clock, 8:30 wake up time isn't out of the realm of possibility when you were up till 1:30 in the morning,
Yes, because you do need the sleep. I mean, sleep is really important. One of the major tennis pros, I can't remember which one it was, they said he sleeps 12 hours a day and did his whole professional career. I don't know if it was Nadal, it was one of the two.
Man, 12 hours is a lot.
Yeah,
I'm not sure I could sleep that much, but I mean, we're all back to the full circle thing though, of like retirement aside, whatever you want to call it, retirement, whatever. I feel like I want to live a life of purpose, and retirement to me means I can pursue things that I view as being of value and as of purpose without there having to be a financial component tied to them. That to me is the flexibility of retirement, to say, if I want to be more involved in the charitable organization I'm on the board of, and I want to go and spend 2 weeks in Kenya, and I'm actually spending money, I'm not making money, I'm like literally spending my own money to be in Kenya. That to me is what retirement is the flexibility to do that and still do something of purpose without having to, take into account any sort of financial component to it. In fact, I just was asked the other day to help out with something church related. And I specifically said, like, if there's anything I can do to help out, but I don't want to be paid for it. There's certain things that I don't want, like, even if there was pay available for it, I don't want to be paid for it. I want to do some things in my life.
I hear you.
Just for the purpose aspect of it, not for the financial aspect of it.
I hear you. Is Cammie excited about the retirement word we haven't said? Is she excited to be with you? I think the guy that she fell in love with 20 years ago?
20. We're getting ready, believe it or not. We are getting ready to have our 30-year anniversary in August. 30 years.
Congratulations.
Nice.
Yeah.
You were at the wedding.
Big player.
So you know.
I know. Yeah, I know. I was there. Fast and the Furious was a movie in the theaters.
That's true. So
remember?
I mean, I think she's very excited. She is more a we get along, we're very compatible, but we're really two different people. Like I could, get on board with, us buying a flight to Rome with no real accommodations or no real plan and just being like, we'll figure it out when we get there. Cammie's not that way. Cammie would like to go to Italy, but all the days of that trip would be planned, and she would know like how we're going to move and how that trip's going to go. So I think she's excited about what we're going to do. We are looking for that balance between me being like if we have an opportunity, be like, hey, let's, we have some good friends of ours right now that are spending a year living in Panama. And they're just like, hey, man, we have an extra bedroom. Anytime you want to come down, you can come down. And I'm like, I'm cool with figuring out when we can get flights and just going down and, and no real itinerary, and she's much more like a planner. So I think we can reconcile that, but that would be the one thing is us reconciling my willingness to just be like, we can completely wing the whole thing, and her willingness, her desire to want things more planned.
Are you cool with her doing all the planning?
I am, other than the reason I don't like all the planning, if I have to be, is it doesn't give you the ability to, a lot of times when you feel like there's a plan, like it doesn't give you the ability to, you happen upon a really cool village in Italy and you love the vibe of it. And you're like, let's just stay here for a couple days. It's pretty rad. Instead of being like, well, we got a hotel stay in Florence, and then the next day we're over here. And the next day it's like, yeah, but I kind of this is rad. Let's just hang here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so I think I'm okay with her doing the planning. I just don't like, I don't like the fact that it doesn't give you the ability to just roll with it. I mean, it's a foreign concept to her that we would pull into ports in the Navy with no plan and end up having the time of our lives with zero itinerary. Like, just roll in and see what the day brings you. And I met so many great people that way. I mean, I met so many great people like that. We pulled into Hong Kong one time. I don't think this was the time I was there with you. We pulled in. I met some people that actually were expats from Canada. And that weekend, there just happened to be the Hong Kong Rugby Sevens, which is a big deal in Hong Kong. And next thing I know, I'm with a group of 10 to 12 people from Canada, Scotland, and all over the place that I don't even know, that I didn't even know 24 hours ago. And I'm now kind of accepted into their group. And we're going to the Rugby Sevens, which I didn't even know was going on when I pulled into port, and had an unbelievable weekend. And that would have never happened if I got off the ship with a plan.
I agree. No, and I remember pulling into port. No, I don't remember that trip, but I do remember the ability to pull in and go with the flow. And I like.
Well, you do remember one piece of that, because the place I met these Canadians and the people that I ended up doing that with was at that bar called the Go Down, that English pub. That I took you to, because then later you and I went back to Hong Kong and I took you to that place, and that's where I met these people. And like I said, but again, it was like, you couldn't have planned that. There's no way, like, that doesn't fit into any plan. And I like that. I like seeing what the day brings and just being flexible to roll with what the day brings,
I do too. And I think we try to do, I'll wrap this up, but we try to do kind of the best of both worlds when we go on our vacations. We have, if we've got a 10-day trip, hypothetically, we will have 6 to 7 things that we want to do, but it's over the period of time. And we will go and we will do, day one, kind of getting acclimated to the thing. And then we'll pick something. And that way, if something does come up while we're doing it, we can, have a rain day. Like, there's times when the weather will change and we have a picnic back or whatever. So I think we try to do the best of what you're describing. We have the places that we want to go, but we don't have it locked in such that we can't be flexible on day or us finding something. So
yeah, and maybe that's a good balance that my wife and I can reach, because like this September we want to go. I mean, I kind of brought up the idea, but she's willing to go along with it. We want to do a trip up to Newfoundland, and I want to go all the way to the easternmost point in North America and up in the St. John's area and all that, and go up through Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine, the whole way, get on the ferry, go over to Newfoundland and everything like that. And, get screeched at one of the local bars, make you an honorary Newfoundlander, and you have to kiss the cod and the whole 9 yards. And I literally, like I said, I mean, I don't have any itinerary of, okay, the first night we're going to stay in New York, and then we're going to go over to Vermont. The next day we're going to stay in New Hampshire. I'm like, we're just going to start heading in that direction.
Right. I am excited. I hope you guys find peace in that. I hope that you guys can do something that you guys both enjoy, because that sounds fun. I think we as adults, this is my final segment. Thanks, Ronnie. We as adults and as humans, get trained that, it's got to be, as you said, regimented, and it's got to be this certain way. And I think that there is a beauty in being able to just be lost without a schedule. I'm attracted to it too. Maybe.
Yeah. Be willing to deviate. I just watched a video of a guy that I watch. He's a really cool dude. He travels the country in a Sprinter van. And he's right now, he's in Alaska, and he stopped and he was talking to some locals, and they told him, hey, you really should go this route, which requires you to go down and then take a ferry across and then go back up. And it added, I want to say it added a couple hours to his trip. But thus far in his Alaska trip, that couple hours turned out to be some of the most picturesque and but it was nowhere on his plan. He met with some locals and they're like, oh, this is where you're going. Oh, you got to take this long way around and go through here and take the ferry over and things like that. And it ended up being one of the most fun elements of his trip, but it never would have happened if he was, oh no, I got to stay on this regimented schedule. Looks like you might have froze up again. I hope I didn't lose you again. You're not going away, so you still must be there. That is the fun of streaming live. I don't know. At least this time he hasn't disappeared. He was getting ready to wrap up too. I shouldn't have interrupted him.
We'll see if he'll pop back on.
The crazy thing is, I feel like he's dropping off, right? As I feel like I'm making some of my best points. Maybe it's on purpose. I don't know. Maybe it's on purpose.
No, I think that I'm the same way. And I was sitting here thinking maybe it's another military thing where we were kind of forced, go, at least for me, it's you got to go out here, go do this. And you just kind of, whatever happens, you have to deal with. I think that's a part of it too. But yeah, my wife's exactly like Cammie, where it needs to have some sort of a plan. I think where maybe she'll give me a day or two that I can kind of push in and be kind of
I like even pulling into places that you don't know and talking to people and being like, hey, we're looking for a place to stay tonight. You guys got any recommendations? And that leads to certain things oh, my cousin's got a freaking barn that he rents out. And you're like, that sounds awesome. Let's, but again, I mean, to me, you've got to be willing to be we'll figure it. When my daughter and I recently went to London, I'm like, we kind of did a lot with no schedule because she's wired a little bit more like me. And I'm just you just have to have the belief, we'll figure it out. I mean, we're not going to not figure, we'll figure something out. You know what I mean?
Yep. Here he is. Hopefully he pops on. Can you hear us, Robbie? We'll see how good this goes here for the next minute. But otherwise, I'd say.
But I can think of so many stories like that, especially in the military, pulling into Australia. I end up meeting these guys or some Italian guys that were living in Australia. and then they took me to a local coffee shop, introduced me to a bunch of their friends, and I ended up spending the rest of the week with this group of people that a day ago I didn't even know who they were. And we ended up becoming long-term friends, like staying in touch and doing, like, so I just feel like if you're a people person and you're willing to start up conversations, it's interesting where the day can take you.
Yeah, I was just about to say that's a key piece to this, whether it's just like Robbie mentioned, his dad in sales. And I know you obviously running a business and doing sales as well. And my wife would say the same thing about me. I think we just have a slightly extroverted personality to kind of have those conversations with strangers, which, like you said, can lead to a lot of new experiences that you wouldn't normally get from just trying to keep to yourself and just focus on what you want to do with the people that you're with. But I think it's definitely something fun to learn, especially if you're going to a new place. And that's something I think we've seen with all of the World Cup stuff, like with people coming from other countries of like, I would have never known this because somebody recommended this and did this. And so that's what's been fun to see as far as the kind of the American perception being a little bit changed here over the last few weeks.
Yeah. I think, like I said, I think that you open yourself up to, now there's part of me that's wired like that. And my daughter's very similar to me, which there's part of me in full honesty that it drove me a little crazy over the last 24 hours because she's got a break from her summer internship and she's just taken off by herself because all of her friends have got stuff going on. She's taken off by herself to a city she's never really spent any time with and just kind of figuring it out, which as a dad now drives me absolutely crazy that she's doing that. But
yeah. Well, we'll wrap here. Robbie just sent me a text. His phone, he did say it was 99 degrees, so his phone is too hot and needs to cool down. So I think that's been a major contributor to this is he's had his phone out and been.
Well, hopefully you can cobble it together and make it a little bit more not for the people that were on live, but maybe for
it actually increased. We got more people as we went. So sometimes the mistakes are a good thing. It's weird as far as that goes. And thank you to everybody that stayed on here. But we will see you guys next week. Pat, thanks for joining the show.
Yep. Thanks, everybody. All right. Take care.